developed Western countries, the United States has more people locked up than any other Western nation. And what this speaker said, he said either there is something really wrong with the American population or there's something screwed up with our justice system. And when you look at the fact that African American and Hispanic males are locked up at a much higher percentage rate than the general population, you really begin to understand that there is something really wrong with the way we administer justice. I think everybody can understand that right off the bat. Well, you know, there's a very similar phenomenon going on with respect to our health, because as a physician, I see that people of color, particularly African American and Hispanic Americans, are susceptible and suffer chronic disease rates that are much greater than the general population. For instance, prostate cancer is more than twice as prevalent in African American men as it is in Caucasian American men, and it is many times more deadly in us. Same thing is true for breast cancer in African American women. Diabetes rates for African Americans and Hispanics, again, exceed the national average, as does heart disease and a number of different cancers. And by and large, when we are struck by these diseases, we die much quicker than the general population. So the question is, does God hate us? Is something wrong with our physiology? Or could it be that we are putting the wrong things in our bodies? Now, when you look at what traditional West African diets consist of, they're very different from the things that we have been taught to eat. They are traditionally plant-based diets that include no dairy, very little meat, small amounts of fish. You know, in this country we have this phenomenon that we've all come to know as soul food, and that typically consists of things like, you know, chitlins and oxtails and pig's feet and pig ears and so on and so forth. Well, you know, I'm here to tell you that that stuff is not soul food, that stuff is plantation food. Because, as you know, African Americans were dragged over here in the holds of slave ships, enslaved on southern plantations, and then forced to eat the garbage of those plantations. Now, granted, and I give them props because they did the best they could to turn what was garbage into something that was edible, but the fact of the matter is that it's still garbage. And unfortunately, when we were free from the plantation, instead of leaving that garbage on the plantation, we turned around, claimed it, and brought it with us and called it soul food. It is not soul food, it is plantation food, and it's killing us. The last vestiges of slavery are found on our plates every single day. Now, some of you out there might be thinking, oh, you know, Dr. Mills, that ain't me. I don't eat like that because I've gone from the slave quarters to the big house. I left the chitlins and the oxtails, and now I'm dining on steak and so on and so forth. Well, that stuff is just as unhealthy for you because it's just as unnatural for you. If you have a chance to Google my name, Dr. Milton Mills, you will see that an article will come up called Comparative Anatomy of Eating, which will show you in a very brief form that your body is not designed to handle animal foods. Now, how many of you out there consider yourselves believers in God? Can I say yes? Can I hear a round of applause? Well, you know, if you believe in God, then you should listen to God, because Genesis 1:29 says you should be vegetarians. God is telling you He designed your body to consume only plant foods. And science shows us that when you stick to a plant-based diet, it is much healthier for you. You have lower disease rates, you live longer, you are more functional as you age. It is better for you across the board. So, you know, I want you to think about I was here around Christmas time, and I hung out with my little nephew, and I was kind of teasing him because I asked him, I said, well, tell me something, Antoine. I said, would you go into a funeral home and lick a dead body? And he went, ugh, that's nasty. I said, yeah, you're right. I said, but what do you think you're doing every time you put a rotting piece of animal flesh in your body? You are eating necrotic tissue. So is it any wonder that over time your body is going to begin to fall apart?